Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Good.
Hello.
Hi.
Um, I have a question actually around the timing today. Would people be open to moving this back like 15 to 30 minutes, possibly?
Like pushing it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay. And say if it's not, if like you have something, because it's not like an imperative for me.
For sure. No, I feel fine.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And Zenzi, does that work for you?
Yeah. So what we
Okay.
want to come back at 4?
Oh, no,
Or
no, no, not
what?
today. Not today. In for the future.
Oh, I
We
thought you meant
could,
today too. I was
no,
like,
no, no, no.
okay.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I'm here. Okay, yeah, in the future. That's fine too with me.
Okay.
So like maybe 15 minutes later. So we'd start at like 12:45, or we could do it at 1. Do we want to, which way? 12:45? Oh, sorry, Pacific time. I think in me.
I am fine with either. I know that that's not helpful, but
Okay, all right. Let's push it back by half an hour.
okay.
My only reason I have like I do kickboxing and I have it right before this, and then I come back and
Nice.
I'm like jump in the shower. Yeah.
You just need
Okay,
that
cool.
time. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome y'all.
Hello.
Has everyone had a wonderful weekend?
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Too fast.
I know.
We do have one announcement, which is that Frank unfortunately had a loss in the family, and he's not going to be able to continue completely, understandably.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so you're stuck with just me and Zenzi.
Okay.
And yeah. So yeah. So should we start off with our demos?
Well, Mike, do we want to talk about timing or do we want to save that for the end?
Timing in terms of when next time's.
Oh, time management. We'd spoken a little bit about it amongst the mentors. Stacy asked that we discuss.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to bring that up, Sensi?
Sure. Yeah. I'm hoping that we can have just a really frank discussion about the time commitment and how everyone is feeling, and if they've been able to, let's just open it up with asking, have you been able to stick within the 5 hours for this project, or have you been spending more? Do you think?
I think it's been on average 5. I don't time it, to be honest. And I'm sure that there's been times that I spend more, but it doesn't feel like it's taking over. It doesn't feel excessive, if that. Yeah.
Is there anyone? I mean, I'm kind of want to hear anyone, even if it's just to say, yeah, just about 5. I just really kind of want to get an idea of if everyone feels that the 5 hours is realistic, or have they been spending additional time in order to complete the issues for the week?
I feel like if I added it all up, it might be more than 5. Is that like including the meetings and like everything together? Or yeah, then I feel like that's probably more than 5 then.
Yeah, I would say more than 5 if it's everything. I agree.
Yeah. Because I mean, the meetings we have with you guys are always like, to the point, like an hour, no matter what. But there's like the meeting to do the issue, and then there's like the merge parties. And then there's this time like doing little other small things that might have to be done. I don't feel like it's like out of control, but I mean, I think it depends on the issue too. Like some weeks have been easier than others. So
yeah.
And actually, we may want to check. I always interpreted the 5 to be like not including office hours and not including demo time.
okay.
But we may want to check on that.
Yeah,
but I think
just to let you know, Saturdays like mentor hangout just turned into a meeting about time around the project. And essentially the hope is that 5 hours is all encompassing.
Total, all in. Okay.
Yes. All the meetings, even office hours, which are optional, but you know, it's supposed to be all encompassing. And the hope was that that first pairing, the Monday or early week pairing, I should say, should be 1 hour to 90 minutes. And if you don't finish within that time, it should be a hard stop and then ask for help. You should not be going beyond that, because that's what's going to keep you at the 5 hours. If you spend 2 hours there and then you tool on it on your own between Monday and Wednesday, then you attend office hours, tool some more, merge party on Friday. Now you're getting 7 hours. It adds up pretty quickly, and it bites into, it becomes a larger task than what was intended or what Stacy intended for the group.
And I will say, this is the kind of thing that not just in the Collab Lab, but when you go into roles as engineers, is figuring out how to be very communicative about your time management. And you shouldn't, like, I have a hard stop every day and a hard start where I'm just like, all right, you know what? Like, if I'm not able to get what we had committed to in the sprint done, then we overcommitted. And we need to go and look back at things. And so also with this, I think it's helpful if we can get an idea of if it's taking too long, then maybe we need to figure out within the project what we can do. And no worries if it takes too long, but just like Zenzi's saying, having those hard stops of just being like, yeah, you know what? Can't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about it, a little more about it during today's pair programming lesson. Maybe we can talk about some things that can make it a little bit easier to collaborate. One idea that was discussed that might be something that we can talk about today is when we're handing out the issues, if there's time at the end, have a longer discussion about a way forward so that you don't spend the first 30 or 45 minutes of your meeting just deciding how to start. And that's something that we can attempt today as we hand those out, and you know, see if that helps to cut back on the time that we spend.
No, that sounds great.
Oh, good.
And I appreciate the you know, you guys wanted to keep it concise. I know for me, it's easy for me to go work overtime on anything, you know, so I get it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we're finding that the same tickets over and over again are hard, or that take more time. Like that first, the first Firebase ticket tends to require some research before you can get started. Some
Yeah.
people didn't do hooks on their own or in boot camp, so they have to brush up on hooks in order to do some of the things. So the next iteration might be very different than what you're experiencing, but hopefully we can make this manageable for you guys going forward as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hand it back to Mike, and we'll see what the more of the discussion after pair programming.
Awesome. Cool. Well, who wants to get started on the demo?
Just should we get started? All right. What were we gonna do? I know we talked about it. We did discuss it.
I think you said you wanted to do the demo and the code, and then I
Yeah.
would do the issues that we had.
That's right. Okay, so let me open up. I felt, what am I doing? I'm so sorry. I'm usually more prepared. Okay, project brief. Opening up our site. Beautiful. Opening up the code. Amazing. Thank you for your patience. Let's see.
Hans, I love that you have a shirt with your name on it.
I know, thank you. It was for my nephew's birthday party. Everyone had their own shirt. It has a what is it? It's a monster truck on it, and it's airbrushed, obviously.
Neat.
You know, my mom loves the airbrush stuff, which is so funny to me. She's like, I'll just have my airbrush guy do it. I'm like, okay. All right, so I am, will you make it so I can share? I know that by default, it always keeps us from sharing.
Zenzi, I think you're probably all over it. The security thing, I think.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you so much. All right. Push this. All right, can you see it okay?
Yep, you can see it.
Awesome. All right, so this is our demo. So what we did was we added the token option. So we can, I'm looking at the code over here. I haven't touched a computer yet today. This is weird. It feels weird. It's okay. So we worked in just app.js, which was nice because we could just add on top of the rendering. And we stuck to this type of, if there is a token, then show the logged out in the list. And if there's not, then we added this other input with a join button. And we have this really lovely handle submit that we created. And so essentially we can create a new list. It'll show our list. I'm going to copy this, add an item. It's always cheese. Okay. We've got that going. And then there she is. And when you log out, we will be able to go back in and see it. So pretty straightforward, very exciting. The handle submit, it kind of works as it did when we were looking at the add item form. It's a very similar form that creates a query, but this time we have a state, and we are going to do the database that we did together, Mike, but we haven't done that yet. But we figured we'd all get together and do that eventually. It seems like something we can do probably at any step in it. And it might be, no, my brain's going faster. Okay, so we did create a submitted token state. We just changed it. So we only have one state with the token existing, and the submitted token is with the one that actually gets created. And so in the handle submit, you see that here, that if it equals the input, then it does all this cool stuff and it pushes it into the database or the local storage in this instance. And then it's a nice little conditional that if it doesn't exist, which if it's empty or if it doesn't exist at all, then you get an alert. Otherwise, it takes you to that homepage of that particular token. So yeah, that is that. Jess, I will give it to you.
Sure. So getting things to work in the beginning wasn't too hard. Adding the token to the list view wasn't that bad, and adding the form, we mostly looked at the other form we already had and just kind of brought that over and modified it so that it would work. What happened was when we thought everything was working, we were like going through the app, and things that previously worked from other tickets stopped working. So the navigate, so like we would have like a form on a page with like another component that wasn't supposed to be there. So we've kind of had to go through and figure out the navigates and the state. Some of the functions were editing token to be like true or false, like it existed. So I made like a separate one to keep track of that. But then later, of course, we found out that, it wasn't necessary. So we just got rid of all of those calls to like change the state for true or false. What else? Oh, the database. So yeah, it was funny that you guys were talking about time taken because we kind of got together to do a merge party and we're like, hey, should we do this? And then we're like, we've spent a lot of time this week. So maybe that's something that maybe another week we have like a light ticket. We can kind of fill that in and do it then. So we definitely want to do it. This just didn't seem like a good week to try to squish that in. Other than that, things went pretty well. It was kind of just error whack-a-mole, figuring out like where these issues were coming from, which is different when you're working on, 4 individuals code. But we learned a lot during that. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I love that, we had played around with some stuff in office hours. And I love that y'all were like, yeah, you know what, we're kind of going over our time commitment here. So that was fun, but do it later. So great decision there. And really, really great work. And I also wanted to point out, I really liked, I had misread something in the acceptance criteria, and Jess, you had been like, wait, no, the acceptance criteria actually says this. And that's a very, very regular thing that on the job, you'll have, you'll implement something and someone will say, hey, what if it does this, or it doesn't do this? And that wasn't written in the ticket. And to like protect your own time and protect, like make sure that the team's communicating well is pointing out like, hey, didn't say that in the ticket. So I really
so
like
hard for me to say that. It's funny that
oh,
you
no.
noticed that.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's wonderful. So really, really great job there.
Thanks.
Any questions or comments on it?
From us particularly?
Oh no,
Or
from
anyone?
I think
Yeah.
probably anyone but you.
For us, yes, everything.
Nice, cool. Well, great job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was fun. That one, we were making our PR and then like about to do it, and then we're like, oh, let's go through it, and then it didn't work, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And every
You're
time we
done?
thought we were done, something else would ring. But actually, it's a good thing we did that whole thing about taking a break, because we were both really tired that day, and we're like, you know what? Let's just stop for now, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, we'll make like a time to meet tomorrow. And then I don't know, like a half hour later, something like sparked in my brain, and it worked. And even though we ended up like deleting the whole state thing, like it made it work at least. So taking a break definitely helped.
Yeah, taking the rest is always the good idea, for sure. Cool. All right, Steph and Cole.
Okay. So we did the duplicate check that I'll show you. I can't think of anything in the whole entire world. And then duplicate, and then list of items, we'll have 1. Yay.
Nice.
And then the code is right here. The big thing, this actually was very research heavy, because I was trying to find a way to do it without regex, because like I've used it like 1 or 2 times. So I was trying to like figure out a different way to filter it. And it was kind of like you can, but it's going to be 4 other functions instead of this one function. So I was like, all right, well, I guess that answers that. And then this week, the handle submit, which Cole will talk about more, but really quick, we did write multiple times, but the one time that I posted and asked for help, it was working. It wasn't working on my machine. So apologize for not checking that. But so that was a big learn that, restart everything. If it's like logically, it should be working. But yeah, Cole can go over that more.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't have you all popped up at the time. Okay, so yeah, we started this off, and kind of it's funny that we talk about time management this week because I kind of got us into a rabbit hole. I think I was so like fixated on doing a query that got the exact information we wanted that I think that's how we spent most of our time until we decided to take a break. And Steph asked for help, and I think her and Hans got together. And then they came up with basically getting all the documents and then doing a for each loop over them to pull them out and then search them, putting them into an array and just getting those items out, which is awesome. And that's what solved our problem. And we also, at the beginning, we were doing it in a use effect. And then later, upon Jess's suggestion and along with Mike's help, we ended up putting the handle submit just so it fired when someone clicked the button. Is there anything else? Stuff that you can think of? Does anybody have any questions?
One thing, wondering, could you tell us a little bit about, there were two instances where we were able to use native HTML functionality rather than having it in JavaScript. And would you be able to point those out?
The first one in the if else statement here, we originally had, and the original if was like, does this exist? And that's where we went down here and added required on 67. So now it just catches it and it never even gets processed if it's not there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the other one that you were mentioned.
I think it was the use of the form.
Oh yeah. Before we had the button outside the form, is that what it was? And so we placed the button inside the form, so then you can just hit enter instead of having to press the button too. So for accessibility purposes, that's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, this is one of my favorite issues, and also really tough one. I was really impressed with the regex. I know Steph, you had said like you really wanted to not do regex, and that's how I feel about regex at all times. And so great job sticking with it and figuring it out. Really great work. Any questions or comments or anything?
Oh, I love a regex. I don't know. I just think there's like magic. Like it's like all this nonsense, and you're like, oh. I also love checks. I think the checking for stuff it's just so instant. You're like, oh, it works. This is great. But it looks good. I love the, I don't know. Like I said, it's like magic when you type it in and it's there. So good job.
Cool. Well, great job. Great demos. And yeah, wonderful work.
And the
All
merge
right.
was simple, which was nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I also wanted to say I really like that y'all are getting together, sounds like, and doing kind of these coordinated merge parties. And I like seeing the kind of self-organization, you know. We didn't say, hey, get together and do merge parties, but y'all are doing it, and it sounds like it's working. Really great. Cool. Should we move on to pair programming?
Question, sorry.
Oh yeah.
And this is kind of around version control. So let's say one of you has an idea like Cole looked like it wanted to explore working on an issue, kind of deciding on things about a way forward. How do you decide what branch to use, when you're going to push up and share what kind of internal decisions are you making about version control?
Do you mean like with the merge party specifically?
Well,
Or
I guess even before the merge party, like
Mhm.
if one of you has an idea, are you saying in Slack or someplace else, I have this idea, I think I want to explore this. If I come up with something that's useful to the group, I'll let you know and then merge that and then you guys check out a branch based on that? Or are you kind of all exploring things and then kind of coming to this merge party with maybe 2, 3 or more branches?
I know for me, I try, and this isn't always the case, but I try not to look at it until I'm with the group. Like, it's not always the case. Like I'll scan it, but I try not to like put too much of my own personal time into it. Because again, I know I can like work overtime on it. And I also think that for me, it could inhibit like the other possibilities if I'm like, oh, this is how we should do it. And I don't know, it feels like it. So I don't know if you guys have, but we haven't really discussed too much stuff outside of it, unless I
Yeah, I
might
was
be.
gonna say, I don't think we've done too much outside of like working on like the AC. Um, if there's something that like comes up that we're like, oh, this might help, like if we might talk to our pair and say like, oh, do you think we should add this in? And then it would just end up being on our branch. So we always come with 2 branches except for I think when we try to like do file structure or something like that, but like normally it's just the 2 branches. So like our conversations kind of happen in the pairs, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make
Yeah.
sense. Thank you.
And the rabbit hole I was talking about, that was during pair coding. So yeah, Steph suffered through that with me.
Awesome. Well, speaking of pair programming, Zenzi, would you like to tell us about pair programming?
Sure would. Cannot wait. Let's see if this works appropriately this time. Do you see my pair programming presentation? Thank you.
I do.
All right, let's see if it goes forward. Test 2. All right. So here we go. So pair programming is something that you guys have been doing in practice. And now we're just going to give some more tips and explore the method a little bit more. It's something that most people tend to do together, but we're a dispersed team, so we do it via Zoom. 2 programmers normally will sit together in front of a computer and take turns writing code using just one keyboard. The normal rules are the driver and the navigator, and the driver controls the keyboard, and they are responsible for writing the code needed to complete a task. They try to talk their thought process through as much as they can as they code, so that the other person understands what they intend to do during their time as driver. The navigator tends to pay attention to the code the driver is writing. They might ask questions, offer guidance, suggest alternatives. They might do Google searches or look up syntax. And they are a sounding board for the driver. And it helps the team come up with ideas to solve the issue a little bit quicker. And the idea is that the driver is thinking kind of small line by line, and the navigator is kind of keeping track of the big picture. This is the normal flow for pairing remotely. 2 devs will hop on a call or a Zoom, and 1 dev will share their screen. That person is going to be the driver for this time, and they're going to code and use their keyboard while the navigator provides feedback and asks questions and does other things that can assist that driver. The driver then will push the code to a remote repo, and the navigator will pull that code down locally, and then they swap roles and so on and so forth, iteration after iteration. It's a collaborative process. For our needs, you're going to switch 2, maybe 3 times, depending on how time allows. One thing that you may do during that first driver navigator session is speak more about the issue, decide what you're going to do overall to solve, and then decide on the scope of what can be done during that one session and say, okay, I'm going to add the hook here. I'm going to create a method here. And then when we switch, you'll create the second part. There's a lot of ideas and a lot of discussion that can take place that can help you kind of complete that ticket within that 90-minute session, I mean. Mindset and attitude. So pairing is an exercise in sharing. It can make you more efficient. And it helps if you walk in with the attitude of just kind of keeping an open mind, keeping a beginner's mindset, no matter where you are in your coding journey, and asking lots of questions. And also just keeping those lines of communication open. So as you're typing, just remember to speak, because the other person doesn't quite know what you're thinking and what your process is. So it just helps to kind of keep talking and just talk your way through whatever decision-making process you're going through. And it's just an opportunity to learn from each other and kind of learn another developer's thought process. And just 2 more things. It says driver seek agreement before proceeding. So whatever your thought process is, ask your pair how they feel about it. And navigators, ask, don't tell. So I guess now I open it up to the group floor and ask how has pairing gone so far, and how has this kind of compared to your experience so far?
I love it. I really do. It makes me, I don't know, my anxiety for sharing screens is like, I'm sure it's different if I was working with like a super experienced engineer, but it doesn't even feel like a problem anymore. I'm like, if it's bad, then that's fine. Or at least I'll know. And it makes me, I feel more prepared for like a job. And I'm learning so much, and it's happening so fast. Like everyone I've been with, I'm like, this would have taken me so long to do, because I wouldn't have allowed myself even those mini breaks of like someone thinking for the team versus, watching someone drive is like, doesn't happen when you're with yourself. Like I just hyper focus on something, and then so it's crazy how fast everything is. I'm like, dang it, I've spent hours doing this similar project, or not project, but like issue. And yeah, it's really cool. It's also neat to just see how other people work and where their brain goes. And because obviously there's so many ways to solve a problem, and it's neat to see other people's solutions for them. So I love it. I think it's like, I don't know, it makes me more excited to get started on a job, because I was so scared before. And now I'm like, okay, if it's something like this, I won't be the worst, right? like I'll succeed. So I really love it.
Good, good.
Mhm.
The only thing I did notice that this kind of outline didn't discuss is timing. And I think in this situation, this is when we want to discuss how you're going to spend those 2 to 3 swaps that you're going to do during pair programming. So if you're sticking to about 90 minutes, you want to have kind of 30-minute swaps, unless you just decide to switch ahead of time. But hopefully 30 minutes is good for you to kind of push or pull your code, decide what the scope of what you're going to be doing during that 30 minutes is. And then once your timer goes off, you switch. And if you've reached that 3rd session and you're 90 minutes in, then at that point, if you're stuck or you're not close to a solution, then you can make a decision on what the next step is, but it's not to do 4 or 5 more swaps. It's just, 2-3 hours for these issues. You certainly don't want to fatigue, like you said, Jess, earlier. A break can do wonders. Shooting it over to another set of devs during a office hours can do a lot. Communicating in Slack can help push you forward. So that's the hope. There are some more, there are some links here, but earlier in the week, Mike left some great links as well. I read Fowler's work on pair programming. It's a nice set of rules and guidelines as well. So there's a lot of good information out there. And I think learning how to pair and learning how to ask questions during a session is a great skill to have. And that is it for me. I'm going to hand this back over to Mike.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zenzi.
Welcome.
And great job. I'm really glad to hear that pair programming has been a good experience so far. It's a difficult skill to learn, so I think it's great that y'all are doing so well with it. Give me 1 second as I get up the issues, which is what we're going to talk about now. All right. And can you all see my screen? Cool. All right, so we are on to issues 7 and 8. Also wanted to give a big shout out to all of you for moving the issues along the Kanban board this time. And I know that was something that we had discussed in retro, and it's really, really nice to see that happening. So really great. Now, issue 7. Let me open this up. Okay, so as a user, I want to see a welcoming prompt to add my first item if my list is empty. Help me get oriented to how the app works, right? So in the list view, when there are no items to display, should show a prompt, i.e. a button for the user to add their first item. So let's take a look at this wireframe. Ooh. I'm moving around your faces to different parts of the screen. Cool. And at this point, ours looks a little bit different, but it will be functionally complete. Like the business logic of our initial screen will be the same here. So there's no items, and we will just show an add item button, right? Do we have some ideas about maybe how that pop into your head as to how you would do this?
Could that just be a link to the add item page, or because we're not submitting anything, so it doesn't have to be a button, right? And then I guess maybe a if else, if the list is empty, then you would show that, and then if it's not empty, it would be the list of the items. That's my first thoughts.
And I absolutely love that you called out that it would be a link and not a button. That's a big accessibility thing. In that if you're clicking on a button and it takes you to a different URL, you're actually doing a link. And really, yeah, wonderful. And there's a lot of opinions around whether you should style links as buttons. And this one is styled as a button. So it's kind of, you may get to dig into some of those strong opinions that people have on it. But cool. This one makes sense. All right. 8. As a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. And this is really where we're going to start getting into this not just being a shopping list, but a smart shopping list, right? So user is able to tap a checkbox or a similar UI element to mark an item in the list as purchased, right? The item should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. We assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least a day. One challenge you may have is figuring out how to test this, right? So it's probably not a good idea to, you click the button and then you have to wait 24 hours to see whether it works, because that would not be a very efficient use of time, as we've been discussing today. So any ideas about how you would get around that?
I mean, aside from the given suggestion, could you just make the time short?
Yeah.
Just be like, I'm gonna wait 2 minutes, and then
Mhm.
if it works, you can assume it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
5 seconds, even. Just shorten that time frame. Cool. So wireframe shows use of simple checkboxes. Let's look. Cool. So we'll have these checkboxes. Usually, this is kind of an odd thing, is like whether a user can uncheck it, right? Because it becomes automatically, it's checked for that period of time and then becomes unchecked, right? So I think I always interpret it as like a user can't really uncheck it. Yeah. Any questions around this one?
Is the color scheme kind of just whatever we want it to be, or is it like a stoplight?
In this case, I think there may be like there may be a point where we're a later points where we're going to apply those colors.
So we won't have to worry about that this week.
Yeah, like let's see, there's filtering.
Is it number 12 maybe?
I want to view a list of my shopping. Yeah, so yeah, and in number 12, we're going to be putting them in order, right? Of like the ones that like the soonest ones are going to be coming up. And I'm not sure in this one. Let's just see real quick. It's always a good idea to look forward. Yeah, they're shown as visually distinct in that one. So I think at that point we'd be looking at different colors. And you may get into the fun of trying to color a checkbox, which is also another challenging issue. But yeah, cool. Any questions, comments, thoughts? How we feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's kind of all we have for today. So we have 16 minutes to just either chat or get some time in your Sunday.
No, I don't think I have any, or I was gonna, I was looking at the issues, and this is for the team. What was I gonna say? Since one, I mean, I think they'll both have their challenges, but if there is time allotted, would you want to get together to do the Firebase this week? And kind of just get that. It felt like a lighter week, but that could be also me not knowing any better,
Well, actually,
Need to assign.
curious.
Are you about to? Huh?
Yeah, well, I was just curious, have either of you, have anyone in the group worked with the date object in JavaScript and the methods that are available to you? Because that might tell us a little bit more about how light or not light this week might be.
That's true.
I have used them in the past. I don't know if I'm not like an expert, but I know of them and I've used parts of them.
Same
Yes.
here.
Same.
I've used them in
Yeah, same.
projects.
I've used them on like a project, yeah,
Okay.
but I couldn't do it like off the top of my head.
If you ask me something right now, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Wonderful call out, Zenzi. Dates are difficult to handle. If you find yourself having issues with them, there are wonderful libraries just built to handle the dates. Day.js is one that I like a lot. It has the same interface as what has always been the most popular one, which is Moment.js, but Moment is now deprecated.
Right.
And yeah, there are some other, Date FNS is a really great one. Or just working with the native date JavaScript object. But also if you find yourself just like, I can't deal with dates, what is going on here? Reach out to help get unblocked on it. One thing I noticed I forgot to talk about who's doing what. So see, this is us right here, right? Yeah. So Jess and Cole and Hans and Steph. Who wants to do which one?
Did you guys flip the virtual coin?
I know. I was like, I put a coin thing. We flipped it, but I didn't. Oh, Steph, I didn't call anything, so it's heads. But I don't mind. Would you be down to? I don't want to take anyone if they're pumped for the dates, but I wouldn't mind taking the dates, Steph, if you wanted to do more practice on that. I also anticipate it being, now that we've gone through it this past 30 seconds, I'm like, maybe we will need help with everyone because I forget how tricky dates can be. But yeah, how do you feel, Steph?
I mean, that's fine, but like I said, I can't do it off the top of my head. It's
Oh,
gonna
no, me
be some
neither. Yeah.
research.
For sure. Yeah, there'll be other projects opened. The reservation one we did with Thankful. Zenzi, I don't know if you did that one, but we used all kinds of date nonsense.
Cool. So then Jess and Cole, are you cool with doing this welcoming prompt one?
Yep, I'm fine with it.
JMC. There we go.
Yep.
And Cole. Cool. And then undo encoder. And thoughts. Yay. Cool. Getting everyone's GitHub names committed to memory. Awesome. Well, these ones are super fun. Yeah, so have fun with them and then reach out to us if y'all get stuck at all, anything. Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Thank you so
Sounds good.
much.
All right. Well, I will see y'all on Slack.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.